Hi, everyone. Boy, we're in March already, and I think, what date is today? It might be today. This
The
is our
13th.
the 13th.
Day is
Okay,
the 13th. It is. Wait, no, it's not Friday. It's Saturday. Oh, man. Oh,
14th.
well.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess we passed that 1 year anniversary of this microbe thing, and so that led
And our
me.
show. Wait a minute. Sorry. I'll just keep chiming in here with my,
Yes, look,
as you
let's see
get
that.
through this
Well,
introduction.
no, because I'm glad you do that because it's this show is primarily based on how you've inspired me.
Oh,
So
well,
this
thank
is
you.
this
No,
is
it's good because, yeah, we get it. We are now turning a page on new
yes,
enlightened lifestyle medicine. We are now focusing on entertaining you while delivering
yes,
top
no, exactly, and
quality.
and today is a lot of history and leading up to our current times, but the topic here is the evolution of microbes and how uh, cooking has become a spiritual endeavor. And this is how you've inspired me as a chef, and how you combine foods, and where you came from as far as your ancestors have from Italy. And we've come from a microbe world up until the present. And how you've inspired me is that I remember your Italian, heritages and all those generations that preceded you. Okay, and it just was fascinating to me how your ancestors took that land they were in, and this includes Slovenia, and all before it became Italy and Slovenia, is that how they used the plants and animals in that geography and the weather, and how the soil was to how they created great foods where they combined all the plants and fruits and vegetables and whatever animals were there into cuisine, and later it'd be called Italian cuisine. And then I wanted to take that back billions of years to find out how that happened. And so here I go. So
All right.
as far as the fossil record goes, in 3.5 billion years ago, we have the emergence of what's called Archaea, or they're prokaryotes, or pre-bacteria. They're ill-defined membranes, ill-defined internal organs and all that, but they're bacteria, and they consume energy and they give off waste products. And within them is the start of chlorophyll. And there's no plants yet, but there's chlorophyll there, and all in the preparation for growth. And there is a invisible energy there. It is a wisdom. It is, some call it God. Some call it energy. I call it love energy. And, you probably could agree with that, is that it's meant for growth and expansion. And this is where we start from. Another 500 million years later, this knowledge wants, these microbes to grow. And so what happens is that initially there's cell division, and then from there there's multiple cell divisions, and cells join together to become molecules, and there's growth, growth, growth. And then there's the emergence of what's called a gene, because you guys, well, how do I pass on information to my next door neighbors and in the next pond scum kind of deal? How do I do that? So they come up with genes, and so there's information there. And then, okay, well, who takes these genes over there? Because, we're in this pond, and what's in that other pond, and this pretty big world here. So what was invented then was something called a bacteriophage. A bacteriophage is a virus, and it grows in something, a host. And that host is bacteria, the Archaea, becoming the modern version of that, which is bacteria. Okay, and so now you've got Archaea. So here, just to remind everyone of some just basic biology, and this comes from triple board certified Zach Bush, which I've mentioned his name a lot. Is that as far as what a virus is, it's a protein sac with either DNA or RNA in it, and it does not consume energy. It does not give off energy. It does not give off waste products. It is an information carrier. Okay. laterally, horizontally, from cell to cell, and eventually from what's on the outside of an entity to the inside, and vice versa. And so viruses are not living. And so according to triple board certified Zach Bush, you can't kill something that's not living. So figure that out. And what's all this thing with these chemical cocktails that we're supposed to take? Killing something that's not alive. He goes, that's not science, and one, that's not possible. So anyway, not coming from me, but coming from, an actual real doctor. So here, let me continue here, is that now with the emergence of viruses and what's called genes, and they're constantly growing and evolving, is that because of this horizontal gene transfer, thanks to these information carriers called viruses, there are new species. So because there's no humans yet, but eventually there will be different kingdoms that have, your warm-blooded mammals, your insects, your plants, those bugs underneath the rocks and all that, and just life. Okay, and progressing forward because of this gene transfer, everything's growing now. Everything's multiplying. And 1.5 billion years ago, the first multi-formed entity or thing was fungus or fungi. Okay. So that was the first multi-celled thing that was on our Earth. And what they did was that they created something called chitin. And it's a hard protein shell. And later that would be passed on, that trait, to what's called the arthropods, or insects or things in the ocean that you might be familiar with, called lobster or crab or shrimp, that are all delicacies that we eat. So there is this darn progression of information, and thanks to gene development and thanks to those information carriers called viruses, we get to be here. Okay. So 450 million years ago, plants emerged. And they were around for a long time. And look at our planet now. It's, unless it's water, it's covered in plant life. And there are also kelp forests in the water also. But on land, we're covered by plants. And then 390 million years ago, the insects arrived, and thanks to their fungus predecessors, billions, half years ago. Before that, is that now they have these hard chitin coverings where they're protected. So we're progressing on here, and it's really quite amazing, and that's why I wanted to a segment like this, and why you've inspired me. And then you think, well, what the hell does this have to do with food, what and cooking and things like that? It's because this progression is that we're in the same biosphere, okay, and it's energy, and some people call that God, some people call that love. It's just high energy, and it's got knowledge to it. And this reminded me of your enlightenment, because you tapped into that knowledge, that all-knowing stuff, and how once again I bring up Zach Bush again, because he goes, what science is just explaining something that's already there, except that we're just kind of finding it out.
You mean it's not about imposing draconian measures and deadly, that they want to inject into us? You mean that? Yeah, you mean there's another thing for that science is about?
No, exactly. So it's really, quite amazing, because, why I like this guy is that, you get one
triple board certified
in medicine, that's quite something, right? He's got 3 of them, and
why
he is so into just the, just the amazement of this energy, and then the knowing of how we've gotten here. And so that makes him a great doctor, and he's really into preserving the soil. Because that's where it all comes in. Going back to the fungus, is that the first multi-celled creature, right? So it had something called mycelium, which is a type of root structure that has got the entire world, as its stomach. because what this fungus did, which is quite unusual, is that it's this mycelium structure can go for miles. Go for miles, and what it does is that it takes up nutrients from the soils and digests them, and then that is passively absorbed into, that mushroom body. So actually, the whole world is the stomach for this fungus, and that's how it grows and takes in nutrients. And what this did, it set the stage. Some billion years later, with the emergence of plants, and plants have something called micro-rhizae, or roots. But what they do is that they extract nutrients from the soil, absorb that into their bodies so they can digest it, and there's chlorophyll there, and which can use the sun for energy, and plus storing nutrients. And what they do is that they eventually cover the entire earth, or where the above ground was, and the preparation for animals to eat them, and the preparation for this thing called oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. So then you've got the insects, and from there, much later, our hominin or human ancestors, that they found out the value of fire and how to make fire, and from there they can now they've learned how to gather plants, fruits and vegetables, nut seeds, and whatever animals are around there, that that there's no guns at the time, too many now, but not at that time. And so if they wanted protein, they had to figure, how do I get close enough to this thing to kill it, or it might kill me? And so now you've got food preparations going on there of plants that are edible or poisonous, mushrooms that are poisonous or edible, and what type of animal to eat, and how to combine those foods as far as for good flavors, but also the smell of it that's enticing, and the presentation of it. And so what reminded me of you is that you've become this chef with a rich background that's from Italy, with all your ancestors passing forth all the information, and I believe just recipes that are just hundreds, if not thousands of years old. And long before that Herbert name came around, your ancestors were here, and the beneficiary of microbial development. And we get all that wisdom, from these microbes, and what is, found out is that as far as ideas goes in our heads and all that we get them from, is that there's actually not been any kind of evidence that ideas come from our brains. Our brain is a conduit to something, but ideas and imagination actually comes from the biofield around us. And most recently, this past 10 years, coming from our microbiome, our gut buddies. And just to give you some statistics on that, is that that there are about 70 trillion human cells, but only about 20,000 genes. Okay, and like I explained on the other show, a fruit fly has 14,000 genes, and a flea has 30,000 genes. So we're sort of more evolved than those, but we only have about 20,000 genes. Now we also have 300,000 different parasitic species in us, and that's 2 billion parasitic genes. And with that, there's 5 million in different type of fungus growing in us, and that's 125 trillion genes. So there's a lot more non-human genes than there are human ones. But the thing is, the fungus, bacteria, and viruses, they kind of get together, and they up and down regulate our genes for our health, and makes us more resilient. So we can't be killing off the viruses and fungus and bacteria inside of us, because they live in harmony commensally. And so that prepares us, future generations, for resilience. So with this nonsense going on right now, it's befuddling, because we didn't get here by killing things off. We came here through evolution, through growth, and following this energetic pattern, this knowledge of just knowing, which is growth. And what happens is that there's stress all the time. And what stress does, it creates breakthroughs. Stress creates solutions. And because of stress, we're here now. And this reminded me of you, Patrick, because you're this culinary artist in the kitchen, and you have fun with these foods and all that. And you probably learned some different food combinations in your adult form here, or from your parents, or from your parents' parents, and or things like that. But you've learned how to combine foods. And to make them not only taste good, but to smell good, and visually you're probably presenting it in a way that's very enticing. And all this type of skill, knowledge came from your ancestors. And it all started from these bugs, these microbes that no one thinks about. But they are still in existence in our bodies. We have archaea in our bodies. We just don't know how many. But as far as bacteria goes, right now about 40,000 different species. Say 1,000, 2,000 years ago, it was double that amount. Because we ate more plants. There was more diversity there, so we needed different bugs in our bodies to digest all those different type of foods. So what I want you to do here, Patrick, is take this away here, but I wanted you to look back in your ancestry to find out and kind of think about this, of all those recipes that you might have come by, or what your parents have brought up or cooked, and where they got that from, and where you got your cooking skill from, because I believe it is a spiritual experience, because you've taken things that created by God, it's plant and animals and all that, and living naturally.
Cooked them and ate them.
We cooked them and ate them. Yes, but before they ate us. But with fire, and we have stoves now, is that your ancestors combined them in certain ways we call recipes, and pass it on, because they found out what was edible and what was not, how to make things taste good, how to combine flavors and textures. So anyway, why don't you speak a little bit about the Enlightenment and your cooking skills, and as far as what you can remember of where you got these skills, and how you learned how to combine foods.
Well, and I'm going to attempt not to disappoint you. I mean, it said the buildup was quite remarkable, and I was envisioning, a long line of my ancestors coming from Italy and Sicily, coming here, passing down recipes generation after generation. But that, I learned a lot more from YouTube than I did from my, not that my grandmother wasn't willing, but at the time that she was alive and cooking up a storm all the time, I was more inclined to eat and take off as fast as possible. Or actually, according to my parents, I refused for the better part of the first half of my life to eat anything, and which was a source of frustration for them. And I, this is funny to them now, because after, years and years and years and years of that, and them trying to figure out ways to get me to eat, my grandmother cooking everything under the sun for me anytime I wanted, and me just not eating. Now I'm the one who's over here making everybody eat and cooking and cooking and cooking and cooking. All right. Let's be honest. I'm going to be honest here. What got me into cooking? You know who got me into cooking? You're never going to believe who got me into cooking. Okay. David Icke. Now, how on
He's
earth
everywhere. Good gosh.
Would David Icke get me into cooking? Well, because when I was going through my awakening and I was being led to his information, was like everywhere. And I started to watch it. And of course, I was like completely mesmerized by all the things he was talking about. I first learned about genetically modified ingredients, glyphosate, Monsanto, from David Icke. And when I discovered from, and it was a combination of watching his videos and reading his books religiously, by the way, as probably everybody already knows by now, was that we're being killed with toxic shite, as he says. And that eventually began to, we, around the time this was all happening, my wife became pregnant and we were about to have our first kid. And, of course, I don't want our child to eat, toxic food. And, it's funny because it's very similar to other parents too, when they start to discover all this stuff. And, my friend Steve, very good friend of mine, and he was him and his wife were the same, when their first was born, they went and I don't know, we brought Steve on the show, and he told us, they went through their pantry and they're just like started to actually pay attention and look at what's in this stuff. Why on earth does it take 3 paragraphs of ingredients to make a cracker? Like, and Rochelle and I, we started slowly. We're like, okay, well, now we can't eat anything, so we're gonna, start harvesting the grass in the backyard. No, well, obviously, no, that's not true. And that was my really bad attempt at a joke right there. We started to buy, all organic. We started to really pay attention to the stuff we're eating, and the first thing that happens, if anybody's still listening at this point, probably going to fall asleep at this story, but just in case anybody wanted to know the evolution of my, my route to cooking, well, when you first start doing it, you kind of suck at it, because you've never cooked before. So your alternative is, all right, so I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get all these great ingredients. Right now, I don't know what the hell to do with them because it's, so you start looking, start figuring out how to cook. So that's basically what happened. But the great thing about it was, and I will say this, is when you go and you pick out those ingredients and what you're putting into your food, you give it that much more effort to make sure that everything you're doing comes out good. Because, if you could buy a bunch of crappy ingredients or a bunch of really good ingredients from the store and not know what you're doing and come out with food that no one wants to eat, no matter how good those ingredients are, it's not going to matter at the end of the day. It's not going to make a difference if nobody eats it. So I just decided I was going to honestly, it just started to appeal to me. It became very ceremonious. It did. Eventually I was like, all right, so my grandma would make pasta sauce all the time and she'd make it from scratch. And I'm like, okay, so I could do this. I could get the base. I remembered the base of what she used. And, you go to the store, get the, the organic, and I'm not giving away my, cause I'm definitely going to commercialize my pasta sauce because it's seriously awesome. And everybody that is, and I'm like, this is me marketing it, Patrick's pasta sauce, and everybody in the neighborhood wants to buy it now. A lot of people do, actually, in my neighborhood that we invite over for dinner a lot. And I've been testing stuff out on people and testing it out and just evolving and growing my culinary skills, as you would call it. And so now, I got to a point where, using my grandmother's base, I started just experimenting with things that I know, seasoning, and it, over the course of years, it began to evolve into something really good now. And it's just a lot of fun. It really is. And there's like, what can go wrong in your world if you are in tune to your eating habits and you are eating nothing but nutritious food and you're doing it with positive energy? Like, we're talking the epitome of living. You have to eat to live, right? And if you're just getting by eating crappy food just to survive, well, you're going to have nothing but health issues. You're going to have you're taking, I mean, and I'm not criticizing people, not eating isn't everybody's thing, obviously, you know what I mean? Other people have other interests, but being unaware of what you're putting in your body has incredible consequences this day and age, especially. And with everything what we discuss and talk about in terms of them poisoning the food, well, we bring, going back on what you were saying, Dr. Randall, as the soil, and we have, your quintuple board certified doctor, what was his name?
Zach Bush.
Yeah. And he talking about the soil, where that's where all the nutrients come from. So the people that are destroying the soil, what are they doing? Why are they destroying the food? What's going on here? And so, yeah, you got, companies like Monsanto and they're pouring glyphosate over everything. You got Bill Gates, a wonderful Bill Gates, who just loves you so much, buying up all the farmland. This is great news. I'm saying that sarcastically. So yeah, I mean, but back to the original story and the evolution of cooking and everything like that. It does it begins with what you're putting in your body and becoming aware of what you're eating, and then realizing that the things that you put in your body, for some people 3 times a day, that's going to affect everything that you do, from the way that you think to your energy levels and to all that. So I just, making a conscious decision to feed my family the best possible food ever has had the most remarkable positive effect on my life. It has affected my becoming a really good cook, and the quality that I strive for has become something that's well known to the people around us and our families and our family friends and stuff like that. And it has become a very big, involving, and super fun ceremonious event in my house. And it's not something that has to happen every weekend. It's something we do every night. So we make it tons of fun out of going to get the best ingredients, going to get the best vegetables, combining these flavors, experimenting, learning, growing. We have started our backyard garden where we're now cultivating our own tomatoes, limes, oranges, basil, the seasoning of oregano. We got some herbs growing back there. We have, gosh, I can't think of it off the top of my mind, but rosemary, of course, and different levels of tomatoes. We have hybrid tomatoes, other types of tomatoes, strawberries. So now, and garlic, and we have all that growing in the backyard. So it sounds like an Italian garden already, and now all that stuff is now going to be going into the food. So I'm talking about controlling the effort from the putting the seed or buying the plant, cultivating it, nourishing it. And I was watching my wife, who's pregnant right now, and she's watering these plants, and I was making fun. I was like, man, this is like the land of fertility here. We have bellies growing and babies being fed, and my wife nursing this garden, and that's life, baby, isn't it? From the beginning to the end. So now we're going to be, I'm going to be cooking with the ingredients from the backyard. And I don't think it gets any better than that. And I started to really realize the lifestyle of the farmer has got to be one of the most rewardings, at least if that's what you're into. So that's an all around summary. That is my triple Nelm certified description of what has transpired over the course of the past year. And speaking of anniversaries, we're 1 year into the show, and probably over a year, I think, by now. And I combined all the things I've learned from you, Dr. Randall, learning about all the things that we've discussed and we talk about. Yeah, I mean, it's taken on another level. And that's what I'm saying. We need to open up the New Enlightened Lifestyle restaurant.
Yeah.
I think,
No. When for this show, I was thinking about it. Because it's our purpose, educate, inspire, and empower. And I said, okay, with what I know, and a lot of it's science, physiology based, and all that. But when I start looking back at what other people do, especially with this Zach Bush guy, which I follow him quite well, and he's a different type of doctor where he so appreciates life. And because the best medicine is food, and so
in every way,
I think. And then from there, when you're triple board certified, it's like, oh wow, I got to listen to this guy. But we started from this one cell beginning, and then there's that energy that knows everything, and with your awakening, you tapped into that because it's
my awakening tapped into me. That was the thing about my awakening. I wasn't even looking for an awakening. It tapped into me, and that was probably one of the most mind-blowing. I mean, that changed everything. It's like and it's weird having this perception now, because I walk around going, wow, there's like a lot people really, they don't know. And it's not because it's just because these events and stuff like that they haven't had an opportunity for that to happen to them. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's always been an important part of my experiences, was that it wasn't what I mean, I used to make fun of people who were spiritual or eat healthy. I thought, wow, ridiculous, oh, let's eat healthy. Yeah. I'd rather eat $100 bills, myself personally, the kind of, which we now know to be is a really weird kind of way of looking at life. But I know you were similar to me in that regard, not in the nutrition aspect, but in the, just that kind of percent until like something like an awakening or whatever happens to you, and then yeah, totally changed everything.
No,
So it's not something I'm not proud of the fact that I was like that, but it is really important to point out that it was something that happened to me, not necessarily something that I was looking for, and that attests to the realness of it, which
no, and like I said, that's why I brought this up also, because we use the term synchronicity a lot.
Mhm.
And I say, had you not gone through the awakening, or had I not gone blind, we probably would have never met.
Yeah,
Because
everything happens for a reason. Totally.
We would have been doing our own separate lives and doing our own things, and we can be sarcastic about any other kind of thing like that, and make fun of other folks and all. But these things occurred, and energetically, I wanted a show, and that's what I met Bob Charles and Pyramid One, and I said, I want a show. He goes, "What kind of show?" I don't know. Well, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. Well,
anything.
Well, what kind of topics? I don't know. He goes, well, why don't you think about it, and let's work this out. And I've got wonderful radio show, and we
love advice with Dr. Randall.
Yeah, and this, as far as the new enlightened lifestyle medicine, this is, I started this in 2014 under different type of names, but mainly just educate people about physiology, about nutrition, and all that kind of stuff, and pretty dry stuff. And then, when I had met you and say, hey, you want to come on as a co-host and all that, because you bring such, just more information and plus a different perspective to the table. I said, come on, let's do it. And the energy's been great. Subscribership has been going up, and then for this show,
you mean people are listening?
That they
people are watching. Wow.
They are, and I've even people in my family with my three daughters, and they come over the house and say, hey, listen to your show, and you guys are pretty funny, and I just learned something. So, oh, okay, I would like more subscribers. Can you tell like 8 million of your friends to tune in too? So that's what that's what
they have 8 million friends.
Yeah, but you see, it to me, it's so mind-boggling that we start off as these single cells, after the all the gas states and turn into solids, but we have this biophotonic type of relationship with all the stars and planets around us, and all the extraterrestrial type of matter that hits the earth and explodes and all that. We have all these different type of minerals, and those minerals are now in us, and we need them to be healthy to live. And as we've developed over time, it's that the human experience is actually a minuscule one, but because we have imagination and we can create, a lot of times, and you bring this up too, this darn God law, two sides of the same thing, two sides of the same coin, is that sometimes what's awfully good and creative, innovative, and all that can be also destructive. Because when you look at the wonderful thing about cellular phones, and we don't think we even call them that anymore, and things like the internet, all of that is saying, wow, look at that speed and communication, and you can get to
melts your brain.
And look what's happened. Yeah, exactly, because other than just natural radiation, we've created this man-made radiation, and now it's creating all these problems, health problems. And we've got this thing called 5G now, and then 6G is in the making, and it is disrupting our being, our natural being, and causing all these health problems. And so for this episode here, you go from single-celled things and development of genes and viruses that just are messengers, are information carriers, and now here we are. And like I said, the fifth great extinction was about 65 million years ago, when most of the dinosaurs all got wiped out. Okay, and we're in the sixth extinction now, and this is called COVID, and we're attacking it when we should not. We should be bolstering our God-given immune systems, because that's what we have. That's what's most powerful. And part of that is, I go back to the chlorophyll that was in bacteria and then plants, sunshine. just regular sunshine hitting our skin that creates within us that pro hormone called vitamin D. And in our world, you got about 70% of our world that is deficient in vitamin D, and a lot of it comes from people that are Black, because they tend not to get out in the sun, and thusly, they're deficient. And with that skin color, they reflect a lot of the benefit of the sun. So, those folks need more vitamin D. Plus, you add in quercetin, which is an antioxidant, some zinc acetate, and you're darn pretty healthy. And we have all the metabolic structures in our body that keeps us going and keeps us commensally balanced. See, but we all started from that single cell that end up growing, mutating, becoming stronger, and passing all that information horizontally to these other species. And I said, without genes and without these viruses as carriers, we wouldn't have all these other species. And we share our origins, from these single cells and from viruses and genes, and whether it's reptiles, birds, and different different species within those species. And down in your neck of the woods, you've got venomous snakes, which you don't want the little one going to pet or bringing it at home as hey, look what I found, can we have this around the house? And so that all developed from their microbial presence. And what you've done is, and what you've explained about your pasta sauce and all these other goodies that you make, is that it came from the ground, it came from plant life, and you've organized it in a certain way where it tastes good. And so that's what you've done. And so the nutrition part of it comes from, it smells good, I want to eat it. And so, with the anticipation of the food and smell and the way it's presented, visually, you start to increase the saliva in your mouth. And within saliva is a lot of enzymes, especially amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates. And so it's a wonderful process that's been thought out thoroughly. And so, I keep on using the God word. Sometimes people don't want to listen to this. Oh yeah, big deal, big deal. It is a big deal, because there's a reason why, we eat certain plants, and a reason why, no matter where in the world you are, that seasonally certain foods become available. And when people start eating more seasonally and according to the geography, like, where your ancestors came from, it is they had a certain terrain and certain things that grew there. And of all things, what's related to Italian or Italy is pasta. Okay, and it goes, okay, well, how the heck do you make pasta, and why does it taste so good? And that got copied across the world. And so for Asian people, we actually have a couple genes that allow us or encourage us to eat rice. I did not know that. I just learned that recently. For Asian people, we've got genes that make us rice eaters. I go, because when you look at it historically and geographically, where are those Asian countries and what grew there? Okay. They're, just rice paddies. And so that became the staple things, but then we have those genes for it. And what I also learned from, I forgot this one doctor's name, but he's a geneticist. And,
wait, but how many board certifications does he have?
Yeah, and virologist.
At least 3.
Yeah, but anyway, because depending where you live in the world, we have different colonies of viruses. And so, his thing was that he has a lot of, he lives on the West Coast somewhere, and then he's got a lot of colleagues in Boston. And a lot of their different type of viruses, and he can't name them, but they're different, but specific to those people that live in Boston. So he wanted to call it the chowder virus, and
the chowder, like chowder clam chowder.
Yeah, like clam chowder virus. Yeah, but because he goes, it's only specific to you people that live in Boston. I go, wow, what an interesting thing. So, it is fascinating to me that microbial world translate into what we have here now. And for you, Patrick, is, although you weren't too interested back when about what your grandmother was cooking and all that, what you've done is that you've taken food from the earth, these different type of plants, vegetables and fruits and all that, all developed from a microbe that differentiated, and you've gotten the skill or interest now to combine those foods for not only great taste, but also there's a high level of nutrition that comes from it, because all those items you've mentioned in your garden, when you talk about the herbs and the garlic and all that, when you break that down for its nutritional components, they're all meant to enhance life. They're all meant to heal. And like Hippocrates said, 2,000 years ago, make medicine thy food and food thy medicine. And he was so right. And then with your food preparation, that's what you're doing, is that not only can you cure illnesses with your food, you can prevent them from happening and promote growth, promote high energy, and just well-being. Because it's, when if you don't feel well, physically, life becomes just very crappy. And a lot of it is what you put into your body. And, it's just more than the nutrients, it's energy. Because all the items you've described, garlic, rosemary, thyme, lettuce, tomatoes, and all that, they all have a certain vibration. And those vibrations match up to all of our organs in our bodies. And because they all vibrate at a certain level too, all planned, all thought out. And so, what you cook is more valuable than you think, because you give it a lot of thought, and you combine things, and whether you know it or not, you're combining, these certain flavors to make it, smell and look and taste good and all that. But also, you're increasing the nutrient profile of what you're serving, and you're that's what an ultimate gift of love that you can give to yourself and to whoever eats your food, is that you're giving them, the basics to help their bodies heal, to help their bodies renew, help their bodies repair, and then they feel good, and because of what you cook, they're healthier and stronger for it. So that's why I wanted to kind of join up or connect our microbial beginnings and evolution of our microbes to where we are now, because how you cook is I think much more valuable than you think, because it's you're giving the just the stuffs for good health, for us, and then especially for your family, and you've got those two little ones here, or one and one that's coming up, is that because of what you feed them, okay, they get to experience an awesome life, because just to be I teach this 9 pillars of wellness, and how you cook, all of those pillars are represented in the foods that you have, and those foods can cure, and those foods can heal, and it tastes good. So
well, I could say with certainty, ever since I've undertaken all of this, our health has been like perfect. And it's funny, you will see people go to like Vitamin Shop or whatnot, some people, and they will invest a lot of money in supplements, and they supplement on account of them having a poor diet, which they wouldn't have to spend all this money on supplements and this and that if they ate healthy. And there's multiple options for that, for eating healthy. There's even, like companies like Chipotle with around here, which are non-GMO, and they aim towards, even though that for people that are less inclined to cook their own food, companies like that, they have pretty good ingredients so far as we know, and everything like that, but you will never truly know unless you take it into your total control. And if you're doing it yourself, you're still always going to be up to whatever it is they're putting or in their foods. But back to the supplement thing, it's always mind-boggling to me, like and I can understand for people who work a lot inside, they take like vitamin D supplements and stuff like that. So that's understandable. The always thing that I always thought was really funny was the people that supplement based on having just a crappy diet, when all it takes is improving their diet, and problem solved. On top of the fact that the supplement will never equal energetically, just like you point out, it will never equal what your body is actually truly needing. There is a, like you said, a one-to-one correspondence between the energies of all these fruits and vegetables and the different parts of our bodies. And those energies cannot be spoofed. They can't literally be supplemented, as is the subject of what I'm discussing. So, and also your when it comes to nutrition on that level, and the body, one of the most fascinating things I learned, and this is in line with what we're talking about, was that the brain craving mechanism, the brain, the body, everything has been designed to know exactly what it needs when it needs it, and that's where you get your food cravings from. Your body might be needing folic acid or something or another. Your body doesn't begin craving a supplement pill, does it? No, it begins craving a salad, or it begins because you were built for that. Your brain knows what it needs, and knows exactly on an energetic level what it needs, and your body knows what it needs too. So that, always thought that was very fascinating. And one of the things they do to us now is they have introduced artificial flavorings and artificial, even though they are, which tricks the brain into thinking that it is getting what it's craving. It's a food craving deception mechanism, let's call it. And so, like, you'll have a Dorito chip, which will have all sorts of different, flavors on top of it. And I'm probably mistaken, but I believe this is where it went into high drive. And I was researching a little bit about what all the artificial and the Dorito was brought up for discussion, what artificial flavorings and stuff and how that affects your body. And what happens is your brain is tricked into believing it's getting the nutrients that it needs based on this flavoring mechanism, but it's still not getting the actual sustenance that it's looking for. So you end up not satisfying that you're still going to be hungry. And then people end up, they end up eating all sorts of just continue, because they're not eating the right foods that their brain is needing. So they're constantly hungry. They're eating in order to satisfy those urges, they're eating the chips, or eating this, or eating a bunch of junk food, which has a bunch of artificial flavoring, and it's tricking the brain. I think, okay, good, I'm getting what I need, but you're not. And then you have a problem like obesity, which is related to this kind of phenomenon, if you think about it, because they're eating and eating and eating and eating, but the body is not getting what it needs. So it's still triggering that hunger mechanism, and that's why the empty calorie thing and the artificial flavoring is a really big deal. You can eat this, I know this has happened to many people I've talked to, and it's something I always thought was very interesting. A lot of people, my friends, family, stuff like that, we'd all eat at McDonald's. And one of the things we started to notice over time, so we'd still be hungry after we would eat the McDonald's. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I would talk about it back in the day, and we'd be really curious about it. And I think that is that in action. It's not your brain at the time. Yes, you're feeling satisfaction. You're eating a Big Mac. It tastes all sorts of great. It's loaded with God knows what. And then when you're done eating a Big Mac and eating a full thing of fries, then like 15, 30 minutes, you're hungry again. And that's because your body it's getting fake nutrients, is a way you could put it. It's being deceived into it's getting empty calories, is that word is the phrase that they have out there. It's no nutritional value to this food that you are consuming. Therefore, the body is still wanting more. And then what do? They turn it right back around and go right back through that drive-through line, and they get another Big Mac, right? So that's when you start getting into dangerous territory with diabetes, obesity, and stuff like that. And we got food industry here that thrives on that level of deception, literally thrives on it. Go down any like chip aisle in a grocery store, and you have so many different flavors, this and that. And it's like, the funny thing is like, like cheese puffs or whatever. It's like literally, it's like cornmeal, like just heated up and expanded into like, which is literally breaks down to nothing, sprayed with all sorts of artificial flavor, cheese and stuff in it. The calorie intake of one little thing of inflated cornmeal becomes astronomical. It's remarkable. So they deceive us a lot in our diets here, and when you're unaware of that, bad things happen, and to your health. And like I said, it's so simple, and you're not educated on these values. You're you're all told to eat your vegetables, right? But then you're never really told where that vegetables come from, if it's a genetically modified vegetable, if it's sprayed down with glyphosate, if the soil that vegetable comes from is just completely compromised with chemicals. So it's, you think you're eating a healthy vegetable, but you might be eating something that might be causing even more harm to your body. And that's one of the reasons why organic food is so important. And then you don't even know if what you're getting is truly organic anymore. So, that's why backyard gardening is where it's at.
Well, no, I'm glad you guys are doing that because, just what you just mentioned, some years ago, that word organic was not used because everything was basically organic.
Yeah, now you have to have an organic,
Yeah, and now it's like certified organic kind of stuff. But right now you have the three top ones on a dirty dozen list. As strawberries, kale, and spinach. Because they're all sprayed with glyphosate. They sound like health foods, right? But unless they are organic, these, you have to stay away from these things. Oh, they're strawberries. This is kale. This is spinach. I said, no, don't eat it unless it's organic. And
strawberries as big as my head, and it looks absolutely perfect.
Yeah, you want to eat it, right? And of course, glyphosate is everywhere. So even when you say organic, there is some some things that get across there because all the fields are not totally fenced off, and there's air and rain and things like that. But organic is best, and is I go back to our microbial life because it's when you start eating junk food, you create that type of bacteria within your gut that is meant to eat that kind of stuff. So now these bacteria crave certain things, like if it's I don't know, just French fries and things like that. So that there are certain type of bacteria that will crave that, and that's why you crave it. And so what happens is that now you go, I'm always hungry, and I just finished all of that, all those French fries, and I want to get more. And so this is a repetitive cycle, and so you get a lot of calories, but no nutrition.
No nutrition, yeah.
And then from there, when you look at your body weight, as far as Americans go, they get, they look like bell peppers. They're growing out all that, and with just skinny upper bodies, skinny lower bodies, but very large in the middle, and all because that there's so many calories there, but not enough nutrients. But you're always hungry, so you keep on going back and eating it. And I listen to those stories of those people that are over 600 pounds and all that. You think, how the heck can you ever do that? Quite easily, because they're always hungry, and these people don't eat vegetables now or fruits. It all their food comes from the stores or restaurants or drive-ups, and you kind of wonder where they get all this money from. But because these shows that I watch, that they're all trying to get gastric bypass, and they got to lose a certain amount of weight to get it approved and all that. I go, how on earth did you get to 600 pounds, and why are you still hungry? And things like that. And so they've created it. And when you take away that satiety feeling, or that you're always hungry, or you're craving things, then they satisfy those cravings. And it's not with good food. It's not with nutrient dense food. It's with caloric dense food. And the easiest part is the fast food. And often you don't even have to get out of your car. You can just drive up, pay your amount, and like you're saying, you drive off, and hey, let's go back, and you don't have to get out of your car again. And so repetitive cycle. So that's why, for you, and why this segment is, based on, what I know about you, is that you've taken the time to take good foods, combine them, and to cook them, at home, and to give a good nutrient plus flavor profile, to that food, where it's not only smells good, tastes good, looks good, and all that, but it's nutritious. It's the building blocks of health. And totally worthwhile. And when you talk about saving money or making your money go further, you buy those kind of foods, and one is that you eat less, the quantity is less, but the nutrition is high. So you don't have to have 6 bags of chips by you throughout the day, chomping around. And kind of interesting when you feel a bag of potato chips, it's like air, and but it's not cheap. and then
Oh, they're like
it's
they're cut
GMO.
so ridiculously thin. Oh my gosh, excuse me. That's one of the things that blows my mind. And I figured I'd jump in here because I wanted to. I have to do my notification on the time because we
Yes.
are at the time we discussed. But one of the things that yeah, you get a big bag of Lay's, right? And it's from genetically modified potatoes, covered in glyphosate, cut paper thin, loaded with salt, and just about all sorts of other words that you can't pronounce. I mean, the ingredients should be simple: potato,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's like it's not that. It's like a paragraph long, and like I said, and then the quantities you get are like I think the people behind all this have to be laughing at us. If we're willing to go and pay like $3 for a bag of air, literally, it's like it's just like it's hilarious. And yeah, you get your paper thin little tiny potato chip that's covered in the most toxic stuff imaginable, come from its own genetically modified gene spliced potato made immune to glyphosate, which you aren't made immune to glyphosate, but it is. They're meaning so they could pour as much of it on as they want, and they could be absorbed in it in every which way. But like I said, it's immune to it, but you're not gene spliced to be immune to it. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, no, I just thought I would bring that up because talking about a potato chip is really funny, and also to let you know that we are.
We're at that time. Yeah. So just so everyone knows, the whatever toxins or chemicals out there, and glyphosate is, everyone knows that now. That kills your gut bacteria. Okay. So that's why when you start killing your gut bacteria, your hunger, changes, and you might vacillate to some of these other, junky foods. So this is why we need to get glyphosate, out of our foods and to eat organic. And eventually what's going to happen is that the organic stuff will become more affordable. But the thing is, for your health, is that you'll never get healthy if you keep on poisoning yourself. And so you kind of go stay with Patrick's culinary type of adventures, and go, and eventually he's going to have his own cooking channel. And so that's what I'm waiting for. But to be able to cook at home and to get those natural foods that were meant for your body in your body, and this is how you stay well. And don't be afraid of those microbes, everyone, because there's microbial evolution that brought us here. And by the way, those viruses are your friend. They keep you healthy. They transfer information horizontally within you, but also every time you exhale, it gives information to the world about what's in you, and vice versa. Every time you inhale, viruses come in you, so you get to gather information what's from the outside world inside of you. So these are information characters, and they're meant to keep you healthy. So anyway, that's it for me. So happy about this episode. And hey, if you like this and you think it's right for you, please subscribe
and give us a like, friends. Give us a thumbs up. Also,
yeah, do that too.
Call Dr. Randall. I'm gonna start putting, because people need to start. Dr. Randall is going to be starting to do personal consulting, and we're going to put this. I'm going to put the information in the show notes and put it up on the screen also as well. Don't hesitate to call this guy. He's very, very smart. I talk to him literally every day, and my life is literally, he improves your life, and he's improved my life, and he improves everybody's life. So I just have to put that. I wanted to put that out there for you, Dr. Randall, and I'm gonna we're gonna put that information out there. And like I said, if you trust me, Dr. Randall's the guy to call. And you would know by now, if you're watching these videos, and if you've gotten this far, that yeah, you would know that by now the kind of character that Dr. Randall is. This guy is class act, and he knows what he's talking about. So
no, thank you. And you, Patrick, what I am is I read a lot, I study, and I just report what's out there from all these experts, that I can learn from. So that is what I do. And then we have a great species, we have great brethren, and ours is to thrive, and we don't have to be afraid. So everyone, do not be afraid of viruses and all that. They're your friends. Okay, we have to limit our toxic load and get healthier, and we can cure ourselves of a lot of things, but we've got to get back to basics, get back to nature. And all starting from love. You love yourself, you love other people, and you love being here on Earth, and we can do it healthier and happier. And we can do it together.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Well, we will see everybody in the next episode. That was a good one. So all right, guys. Thank you so much. Remember, subscribe, like, share, tell your friends, and call Dr. Randall. Okay. That's all right. We're out. Bye.